It's the Thanksgiving edition, 2022, Coach's Corner here on RFM, and great to have you along with us and with our partners at 95.1 FM, WLPZ and WLPZ.org, and Tucka 56 Radio and Tucka56radio.com. Todd Robbins joined, as always, by Leominster High School Head Coach Devin Gates as we bring you, amazingly, the last edition of Coach's Corner for the 2022 season. Coach, the season has literally blown by in a blink, but there's no better time of the year than getting a chance to talk about Thanksgiving once again.
No, it's great. I mean, the year's gone by fast, and we're talking with the kids over the last couple of days. It feels like we're just getting started, and now it's ending. So bittersweet, but just to have the end of the year culminate in the Thanksgiving experience, and we haven't been home for Thanksgiving morning since 2016. So we're pretty excited about it, and looking forward to it.
Without question, we're going to get into the Thanksgiving memories ahead, as well as so much more about this Thanksgiving Day game coming up. But first, Coach, we'll take a look at the year in a little bit of a big swath in a moment. But I want to start with this tweet from Alex Rotzko from Longmeadow. And he posted this on Twitter saying, one of the greatest traditions in football is the Thanksgiving Day games in Massachusetts. Every team plays its own Super Bowl that day. Looking forward to seeing old friends and players next week. Coach, I thought that captured what this season is all about and why, although Massachusetts keeps trying to, make tweaks to make their postseason more palatable to the football world writ large, in reality, this is what makes Massachusetts football special.
No, I agree. I mean, that's my thoughts in a nutshell as well. It's, and I think that we're lucky and spoiled in a way, like some other Massachusetts communities aren't, with having this rivalry with Fitchburg and how long it's gone on for, and the epic games that we've had in the past, and there's a lot of tradition there, and unfortunately that's not the case for or increasingly not the case for many Massachusetts schools year to year now. So I love the Thanksgiving game. I love the Thanksgiving environment. I think it's so special. What makes playing football in Leominster and Fitchburg so special. And I understand what the state at large is trying to do by having the state playoff and try to preserve Thanksgiving too. It's just we haven't found that right formula yet. And I'm just glad that we are still playing the Thanksgiving games right now. And and there's still a lot to play for these kids. We had the first round of the playoffs that we fought really, really hard at and came up just short. And since then, we played Taunton and, kind of had that bump in the road, but, these guys have been, itching to get back, to play Fitchburg on Thanksgiving, and just really looking forward to the experience.
And of course, as we've kind of documented a little bit throughout this year and the last intervening few years, when we've been talking about the statewide postseason, the part that is hardest for, I think, communities to understand is just how all these pieces fit together. The casual fan struggles to follow and understand what's going on there, but the casual fan who either comes home to Fitchburg or Leominster for Thanksgiving doesn't struggle to understand a 128-year tradition, 142 meetings, and 116 on Thanksgiving Day. People very much understand what that means.
Oh, for sure. And that's what, that's part of, what makes Thanksgiving so great around here. It's dependable, right? To come back and go either Crocker or Doyle at 10 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, and you're going to get the same feels. You're going to get the same atmosphere, and, it just brings you back to so many memories, no matter what, the two teams did during the regular season. It's all about that day. So, I think that we're really, really lucky to be a part of it. And, we obviously take it very seriously and want our kids to have a great experience with it.
I always take a pot shot at the parade people. We've had to try it the last so many years. It's been such a weird odd and end night games, and games move because of snow. And so there's been, and then of course the COVID year, so there's been some Thanksgivings where we've been home, and I'm like, wow, this is what people elsewhere in the country do. They watch this parade. That's, they're like, I'm sorry. There is something about Thanksgiving morning, and when you grow up with it, Thanksgiving morning and high school football, and then going on and having your Thanksgiving holiday after that. There's just something about that here that is ingrained in all of us.
Absolutely. You can DVR the parade, watch it after while you're eating your turkey, but DVR it and come down to the game. It's going to be a great atmosphere.
Absolutely. Hey, that Rose Bowl parade is only a few weeks away. You know, you can wait for that one. There's another parade before the calendar year.
I'll take Rose Bowl over Macy's any day of the week.
Absolutely. Now, there's a hot take. I like that. We're going to take Rose Bowl parade over Macy's parade any day. I like that. No question about it, Coach. Let's look back on this season as a whole. And of course, yes, you mentioned the bump in the road with Taunton, a 28-12 loss in non-playoff action. But at this stage, more importantly for your team, they've finished the first 10 weeks of the season at 7-3. And when we look back on kind of where we started in the first episode of this season to where we are now, when you think about kind of the growth and development of Team 128, you know, where is that on the grand scale? Kind of take me through where you were and where we are over this 10-week stretch.
Well, I think we started with a lot of question marks, you know, with especially, you know, having, you know, a freshman quarterback or freshman receiver, you know, having to make some adjustments online, maybe on the offensive line, move some guys around, having Coach Benoni come in now as the defensive coordinator. It was his first year as a coordinator, and a couple of new coaches on staff. So there was a lot of pieces that need to kind of come together quick. And just really proud of how, you know, of our coaches and how they stayed the course and just get everybody on, you know, on the same page. And then proud of the players for going out and executing whatever, you know, we came to put together. And the team really kind of took a life of its own, and that's, you know, that's fully on the players. And they just did a great job in creating, you know, a team that's just fun to be around. That's fun to prepare for. It's fun to practice, you know, and that's been all the players' attitudes. And it's been a great, you know, maturation that I've seen over the year. That's why we say we, you know, feel like we just got started. It's like we're just really, you know, solidifying our identity as a team. You know, really just coming together and making, you know, and see the guys kind of coming out of their shells, and you know, it's been really special to watch. And that's just on, you know, personality wise and character wise, you know, and chemistry wise, you know, as far as, you know, our play on the field, you know, it's gotten better every week too. You know, with the emotional win against Wachusett, the emotional win against Shrewsbury with the passing of Coach Ricky White too. And then the playoffs, we went through a stretch there. It was really, you know, a really emotional month in the month of October, you know, towards the end of October, beginning of November. And, you know, I think our guys handled it with a lot of grace, with a lot of, you know, with a lot of heart. And, you know, when we got to Taunton, I think, you know, we didn't have a lot left in the tank at that point now. You know, that's could be on me as a coach too, in terms of our preparation. But, you know, I think the coaches were feeling it as well too. So it was an emotional stretch. The guys fought really, really hard. We're super proud of them. But I think by the time we got to Taunton, you know, at least the first half, you know, you could tell that there wasn't a lot of wind in our sails. And, you know, they did a great job at kind of regrouping at halftime and coming back out and playing really, really tough. So, yeah, I think that's kind of been just how the season's maturated. And, you know, just love our guys. Really, really proud of the team that we've become, the men that we've become, and what we've accomplished on the field, in the classroom. It's been a really special year.
You know, it's funny you bring up, you know, kind of the coaching point, you know, about reaching that empty point, you know, after 10 weeks. And I think about in sports all the time, we talk about conditioning, you know, the ability to play 4 quarters or the ability to play the entire football game or whatever that may be, or preparing physically for the entire season. And I think maybe so often underrepresented or under discussed. And this is, of course, I suppose, a big picture national issue when we talk about the mental component of athletics. The conditioning for all of that is a lot harder than people think. You can't prepare for emotional win, emotional loss, you know, emotional, you know, loss in your personal life that affects your, you know, ability, you know, whether it be in school or in, you know, in athletics. That there's a lot of that I don't know. You can't run extra sprints or do extra hills to prepare yourself for that.
No, we had some really high highs and some really low lows that both required a lot of, you know, a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, and that's just draining. It's just draining mentally. It's tough to kind of pick yourself up after that stuff too. And, and that's something I think as a coach that I haven't gone through in a while, like having to deal with all that. And again, that's not something that happens, it's not your run of the mill year. Obviously you have your ups and your downs, but I think to have such extremes that we've had, with as passionate as our team is about, our team and about how we play, you put those two things together and something's got to give, and I think that's kind of where we were, going into Taunton, is that we were really, just kind of emotionally spent, maybe not aware of how emotionally spent we were, but then, in hindsight, looking back on it, it kind of makes sense of why we looked like we were stuck in mud a little bit that first half. So again, that's on me as a coach too, to be able to recognize that, to be able to give the kids what they need, physically, emotionally, in terms of how we practice, the intensity in which we practice, and then support as well too. I think everything kind of goes in hands there. If we're going to have, the healthiest players out there when we play a game, then that's got to be physically, mentally, that's going to be the whole package. So definitely a learning experience for me and for the coaching staff. And, we can, take that, hopefully we won't have to deal with, the losses that we've dealt with, this year, especially, with the close losses with the coach and family and stuff like that too. So, but I think we're better equipped, having gone through it now, to deal with it when it comes up again, than we were this year. And, and I'm just proud of our guys because they didn't hang their heads. They just went out there and fought. You think the fuel in the tank was very low once we got to Taunton. But
and I suppose the preparation, comes with experiencing it. Your players are better prepared for life because they went through it and they persevered and they continue to move on every day.
Sure. Yeah. Again, like say emotional loss, it still doesn't feel like a loss. I mean, it just feels like, we've been through a lot, good, bad, indifferent. We've been through a lot. And I think that point is not lost on the team. I think they're aware enough, of what we've gone through and where they are now and how they're in a better place now, having dealt with these things and learned how to dealing with these things than we were when we started the season. So, again, these things happen in life. I think we dealt with it the best that we could, and we certainly learned how to deal with it better now. Having that rest period after time, we gave them a few days off before we got back to work. I think that helped too, and kind of keep things perspective, get some sleep, get some rest, refuel. And we've seen definitely a lot better of, attention and mental state, and just, more pep in the step, this week, for lack of a better phrase.
And no question about it. And, as we look back on this season at large, Coach, there's always players that have established reputations or come with high expectations. But I want to start kind of off the board first. I want to start with, in your mind, who or whom provided the biggest surprise from this team in the 2022 campaign?
Oh, wow. I was prepared for that question. Well, I think we're not. Yes, Tech and mate Todd. Yeah, I think some unsung heroes that maybe I will say surprise, but guys who may be flying under the radar a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brian Aguilar's had just an absolutely tremendous season. He's made some contributions on offense, especially in the Wachusett game, but he's been pretty much a shutdown corner for us, on defense as well. And he really has just played really, really well. I think having Xavier Cora step up as a sophomore in the linebacker position was maybe, thought that he might be able to contribute going into the season, and then going through camp, just realizing, he can move, he can tackle, he plays physical. He was a nice surprise this year, stepping in as a sophomore and making some things happen there. And I think Braden Martin in the running game too, being able to spell, Mackay Stinson Newton when he was out. I think Braden did a great job. I think he's, in line to have, a great career here coming in his senior year next year. We're excited about him. Not to put the cart before the horse here, but those are guys that really that made a great contributions this year. John Escabi on defense. John was always kind of, a sub to, on defense, and he's done a great job on offense, being the quarterback of the offensive line. But his contributions on defense, I think exceeded what our expectations were as well too. So, Yeah, but I hate to even mention because I could go on and on with guys who contribute this year. There's been so many guys that have done such a great job, here and there, coming up with a play, coming up with a play in this game or a big play in that game. And there's so many guys that have done that. And that's why it feels like everything's just been a complete team effort. You hear a lot about Ricky, you hear a lot about Osiris, you hear a lot about Caden, but we are so much deeper than that. And the guys know that. And no matter what is said, online in the papers, on TV, they've been humble, and even those guys, the quote unquote star players, have never carried themselves like that. It's always been about the team, and that's what I'm really proud about. Proud of those guys for that. It's never been anything but the team.
And that was my hope for that question, Coach. See, that's why, occasionally, I hate to pat myself on the back, but occasionally I find a question that I'm like, yeah, I want to hear where this answer goes. That's where I thought it would go. So perfect. You're getting a chance to highlight players. Like you said, we get an opportunity. We are spoiled when you have a great year like this, where you get to talk about so many great players in the program at large. We don't always get to shine that spotlight on somebody or somebodies, that have great years that maybe, aren't always right where the action may be. And, you said back on this program in episode number 1, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one that looked at you and went, we're going to start 2 freshmen, a quarterback and a wide receiver. And they earned those opportunities in camp and in practice. But, through execution, they've now earned a reputation. And I would say for most people, when you tell them you're going to start 2 freshmen at the high school level, they exceeded even the most optimistic situation and the optimistic projections. And this is, of course, Osiris Lopez and Caden Drinkwater.
Sorry, Todd, you broke up a little bit there too. But with Osiris and Caden, would you be able to repeat the question? I'm sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine. I said, obviously when you were, talking about starting a freshman and 2 freshmen back in week number 1, a quarterback and a receiver, they earned those opportunities in camp in practice is what you told us. And now I would say 10 weeks later, through execution and through actual gameplay, they have built their reputation and probably exceeded even our most optimistic projections 10 weeks ago.
Certainly exceeded mine. Usually when you tell somebody that you're starting 2 freshmen on offense, like, oh well, it's gonna be a rebuilding year, huh? And for us, it wasn't. And that just goes to how special the players they are. I think they've earned the respect here to be some of the top players in Central Mass as 15-year-old freshmen right now, and that's been on the work that they put in. Making sure that they're getting the plays right during practice. And the trust that their teammates have in them too. I mean, you watch them on the field; we're excited when anybody else makes a play. They're excited about it. They're really, kind of mature beyond their years in terms of football, and their understanding of the game. And we're really lucky to have them on our football team. That they've provided a spark this year that we needed. I think that we needed. I think it's been a good mix of our older, more experienced players with some younger talent that has really made up, the core of this team.
I'll tie that answer with my next question, and that is obviously about your senior class. We talked about them really being the heartbeat of this, team and this program. But I do think that there was a perfect storm of things that fit together. A group of young players that were coming in that were really excited and were going to inject some enthusiasm, and a group of senior leaders that knew how to channel that excitement and bring it all together. There is a huge, I think, piece about the older veteran players that have been a part of your program now for the duration of time here, and then the younger players that were coming together and created this perfect spark in this 2022 campaign.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there. This group, the group of seniors, they were freshmen when I first came in. So everything that we've been saying, since we started here, in terms of our player expectations, in terms of what we wanted to do, they've kind of gone and carried the flag for that. And for that energy to come in from the younger players and to be, like you said, like focused on how it fits within our program and what we want to happen, has really created, just a real a freight train. It is really kind of it's how it feels to us in terms of the direction that we're going, and the positivity and the energy. It's just really, if you spend a little bit of time around it, it's very uplifting. It's very positive. It's very exciting.
No, for sure. I mean, when you get that perfect combination, we'll try the cliche world again. To take enthusiasm, unchanneled enthusiasm doesn't necessarily go anywhere, and it takes a certain amount of knowledge and leadership and experience to be able to figure out how to properly channel enthusiasm. When you bring those two pieces together, you get a year like this Leominster Blue Devil team has had.
Yeah. We've had a solid sail built. Now we got the wind to push that boat forward, and that's what that's what's happened this year.
And there it is. That's what we were looking for. We knew we'd get it together somewhere along the way. A team effort here as well. Let's talk about two players that got honored last week. There are two awards that are presented annually by the Leominster High School Football Hall of Fame as part of their annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. John Escabi and Gio Roman were both recognized with awards this year. Escabi was the Comerford Award winner, Roman the Lou Little Award winner. And I think this is a great proud moment for these two who have led the team on the field, in the classroom, and in the community as well.
Yeah, just both, all around great kids, great players, great students. And it was an honor to have them win those awards. It came from the coaching staff, there's a lot of guys, and this is not in any way to diminish the award that John and Gio got. That's just a testament to their class, that there were a lot of other seniors too that fit the criteria to win those awards as well too. So it wasn't an easy decision, but those guys being leaders, being captains, being okay with being the unsung heroes and just going and doing their work and helping their teammates along and teaching their teammates and leading by example. They're two really special kids, really special kids, and excited for them to win those awards. It was a great night at the Hall of Fame banquet. They honored 3 classes, so it was it was a lot of people there, and they treated us well in terms of the team. Now they had us come in, they had dinner for the team and everything too. So it was a great experience, and I think the kids were able to see how deep, or begin to see, how deep the roots are with Leominster football and how important it is to so many people. And for us to be a part of that ceremony, to win those 2 awards for John and Gio, it really was a great night, and really excited for those 2 guys. And they're more than deserving.
So the past and present and future all come together in one event. Coach, it's my favorite time of year. It's 'tis the season to talk Rivalry and the Thanksgiving Day Classic, which is coming up here on Thanksgiving Thursday. And you come from a family that's been involved with the Rivalry in one capacity or another for a very long time. So this is my annual. I get to ask you, what do you remember about Fitchburg and Leominster Thanksgiving when you were growing up?
Oh, it's just, it was the best. You look forward to it all year long, and it's really, even during the regular season, being like in middle school and watching the team, it was always like you always had your eye on Leominster, what Leominster was doing when I was in Fitchburg, and we're just waiting for that clash on Thanksgiving Day. Really, the other games didn't mean as much. Of course, that's me being a younger kid. Obviously, now as a coach, every game means a ton, but this one is just a little extra special. But growing up, it was, you lived for it. You lived for it during the fall, and and as I got playing and more involved in the sport, through middle school, through Pop Warner, it's just the whole atmosphere of it just really, I just knew it was something that I wanted to be a part of, and something that I gravitated to. And to go out there and and play with kids I grew up with the best friends, and make those memories on the field, it couldn't be anything more dear to my heart than those times spent on either Doyle or Crocker, during my high school years playing Thanksgiving football. It was extremely special, and something that I think about and talk about with friends often.
We spend and learn so much about our traditions from our parents. What can you remember your parents telling you about the Rivalry?
Well, my dad having played in it, just always talked about how special it was. You're not going to be, the first time you go out there, you're not going to be ready for it. It's going to be a little bit overwhelming, and it was. I mean, the first one that I dressed for was 1994. That was the shootout between Fitchburg and Leominster at Doyle. I think it was 44-40 was the final of the game, and it was just trading haymakers back and forth. It was really just an awesome, still probably the best Thanksgiving game that I've ever witnessed. Was that game, and and my dad was right. I didn't play it down in that game as a freshman. I stood at the sideline the whole entire time, but when that game was over, I was exhausted. That's really what I remember. And Todd Stefanidis and Bob Raxasak, and it was just a great game. And and I think remember my dad after that just trying to like channel everything to you're moving forward, you're going to be a contributor here, so just this is what we talk to our players about: be in the moment, enjoy it, play every play like it's going to be your last play. Again, we're in cliche land here, but that's it, but it's right. There's no other way really to describe it. This is the last time that this team is going to be together. Team 128 for us, and I just want them to. They've got about 100 plays left. 100 plays left total. And it would be a shame for them to waste one of them. And that's what we talk about. And that's how I played too. I didn't want to waste a play out there. Not with my friends, not with the rivalry, the town behind us. It's a community event. It's not you're not there alone. That's the thing that I think that means the most to you. You feel like you got a whole city behind you. And and it creates bonds that I think are very special and unique to Fitchburg and Leominster. I think I really do. And I'm excited for our guys to have that and to feel that, and no one can ever take that away from them.
And there are plenty of people that have gone through that point where you have just 100 plays left in your career. And for some there's the opportunity to play more ahead of them. For others, Thursday will be the last competitive football game that they will play in their lives. And that 100 plays, there are plenty of other people that have experienced that point where they wouldn't, give anything in the world. They would give anything in the world to have one more of those 100 plays back. And you're the team that gets a chance to do that this year.
For sure. Yep. No, and that's really kind of our message to the seniors now. Don't waste a minute. Don't waste a play. And this is going to stay with you the rest of your life, no matter what you do after here, whether you play more football, whether this is it for you. Don't leave that field Thursday without putting in your best effort, without taking everything in, because it might be the last, it's your last Leominster football game, your last time on Doyle Field. And, they want it to be special for them.
And of course, you now yourself are a parent. And of course, you've got two kids. Danny is clearly old enough, and Owen is starting to reach that age where he is old enough to understand. As you get a chance to help raise them through this rivalry, what is it that you want them to take away at this stage as they are growing up in it?
Just how special it is for the whole entire community. This is going to be their first. They haven't been to a Thanksgiving game yet. This is going to be their first one this year. So I'm almost excited for that as I am to coach with these players and coaches in the game. But yeah, and again, Todd, it hasn't really hit me like that yet. But I guess that's what I'm really excited for them for, is just to see the community come together, the atmosphere, the pomp and circumstance about it. It's it's a special time, and it's a special day. And I want them to feel that. And I want them to understand that. And it might take a little bit longer for Owen, but I think he's starting to get it. I mean, he's always asking me about stuff about Leominster football now, and it's awesome. But I'm really excited for my kids to go this Thursday, and to be able to see them after the game, on the field. It's going to be a fun moment.
No question about it. One you'll always remember as a family. All right, we're going to story tell here a little bit more. Favorite all-time rivalry moments or experiences? You talked about the 94 game. I think about, I always bring up meeting Huck Hannigan at the first banquet that I went to in 99 prior to the game, which was on the Wednesday night prior to the game, because Huck Hannigan was, I had this vision in my mind, the stories I was told about how, he was this mighty and strong coach, and I was expecting him to be here. and he was here, and I still probably was intimidated by him at that moment in time, and he had long past left coaching at that moment in time. And then I just think about the arrival point. One of the things I think from a broadcast perspective, whether we're at Doyle or Crocker, is you experience the calm. You're walking in and you watch the facility wake up, because we're there so much earlier than everybody else, and you just kind of watch the whole thing kind of build and bubble and percolate, and then of course it culminates at 10 o'clock when kickoff hits. Those are the things that always stick with me, year in and year out. For you, what are your all-time favorite moments or experiences?
Well, I remember my junior year, you just kind of brought back all the feelings of I think being on the field for warmups. It was at Doyle my junior year, and they're playing, running with the devil, and we're out there warming up, and there's snowflakes that are drifting around, and you get to see everything start to wake up. Everything's being put into place, and you just feel everything build. And I'll never forget that feeling. And then to go out and execute, it was great. Scoring a touchdown, on my junior year on Thanksgiving was really, really special. Just feel like I could contribute to it and be a part of that that way. And then my senior year, I remember the ground being so frozen at Crocker that we had to wear our running sneakers, basically. I was out there in Adidas running sneakers for my senior year because the cleats wouldn't stick in the ground. So the footing was not great. Slipping around a lot, but we made enough plays to win the game. And being able to throw a 2-point conversion pass to my best friend, we talk about all the time. That was probably the highlight of my senior game. But really, every year it was. I was lucky enough to never lose against a Thanksgiving game. I was lucky enough to have that happen, and to do that with my closest friends. For us to have that together, that's just the best thing for me. That's just there's not much better than that.
And all these years later, it still matters. How about first legend of the series you remember meeting? Because I think a lot of these guys are mythical figures. Who's the first one that you remember meeting? It had to be, kind of one of those moments you're like, wow, this is that guy.
Yeah, I would say, being a younger, like a middle schooler at the time when, we were starting to get a lot better, Zach McCall really was, just a legend in himself, during the football season. But him and Bobby Williams, the backfield pair there, just really looked up to those guys. And to meet them and have them shake our hands or give us a high five coming off the field on Thanksgiving was just, if I wasn't hooked before then, I was hooked at that moment. If I could pinpoint a moment that I was hooked on football itself, never mind Fitchburg Leominster football, but just hooked on the sport and everything that goes with it, it was that moment right there. So, those were the two that, really made me want to be a part of it.
And we'll get another opportunity for another generation to do those very things this week as well. There's so many activities that swirl around before you get to the wide and wonderful world of football as well. And you had told me before we came on, I didn't have this in my notes, but you had told me before we came on, kind of the beginning of this whole thing, Hall of Fame, a week ago. Now you come in and you've got a sportsmanship award that is coming to the program, in the next day or so. And then of course it's, the pep rally, and then the last time together as a team in the practice, right before you go into the game, and then it's game day from there.
Yeah, no, it's a busy week, and that's, again, everything that adds to why this game is special, right? You got breakfast for the bands tomorrow morning, which we'll have a good attendance for and be excited about. Then later on tomorrow night, we've from the North Central Referees Association. I believe that if I butchered that, I apologize, but we won the sportsmanship award for the referees, this year for the officials, and that's something that hasn't come our way in a little while, and we always try to, I know we talk about officiating sometimes, and it's a real tough job, but we always try to, to carry ourselves, appropriately, having a good sideline, having, coaches that aren't arguing, and being able to do that the best that we can. I think we did a good job of that this year. But again, getting off track, sorry.
No, it's fine.
But we have the last couple of practices, the pep rally, then we have our senior ceremonies on the last practice, and then the banquet that night. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of people that help out, which I'm very thankful for, in terms of, parent boosters, in terms of other community members, school, teachers, administrators. There's a lot that goes into it for it to make it special, and wouldn't be able to do it without all their help either. And it's just, it's all there for the kids. And while some may see it as distracting, I see it as adding to why this game is the way it is and why it's special.
Building it all to that culmination, which will come with kickoff at 10 a.m. of the 142nd meeting, the 116th Thanksgiving Day Classic, celebrating the 128th year of this rivalry. And Coach, let's turn our attention to this renewal of the series. You enter at 7-3. We talked about off the top, but you lost your last two straight. Fitchburg is 4-6. Your team won the 141st meeting on September the 8th by a 48-6 score, but Fitchburg has won their last 4 straight. So that's the backdrop. Ignoring the implications for a moment, playoffs, non-playoffs, I said to Bill Thomas during the broadcast in the Taunton game, which team do you want to be? Do you want to be Leominster coming into this football game, or do you want to be Fitchburg coming into this football game? He punted on the question, but I'll ask you this way. Is your team more dangerous having lost 2 straight than Fitchburg may be after winning 3 straight, but having lost week 1?
Well, I think we're really motivated. I think there's a lot of factors that go into that too. I mean, obviously, just the fact that we're rivals is enough. But to have, playing at Doyle for the first time in six years, on Thanksgiving morning is huge. And then also, the potential to win game 800, for the program history is on the table too. So we're certainly motivated. We are well aware of, our shortcomings in the Taunton game, and what we needed to do better in the Reading game to have a chance to win that playoff game. And we've worked on those. And we've been able to rest, refocus, and renew our mission and what we want to do. And, our guys are highly motivated. We're not overlooking in this game. This is, we're that Taunton game, I think, was an anomaly in terms of who our team is. It was a very talented Taunton team as well too. Whether it be winning 4 out of 5, it shows resilience there. They're always tough kids. We're built, we're a lot of ways cut from the same cloth, but they're tough kids. They're coached very, very tough, very, very well. And they're going to be ready to go as well too. I know how we felt going into last year's Thanksgiving game after losing week 1. And I can imagine how they're feeling as well too. So our guys need to be ready for that. But I think with how we finished the year, we are highly motivated, for Thursday, and to go out there and put our best foot forward.
And certainly with good reason. People love to apply the transitive property in sports. Maybe it's the one thing we all get out of math class, and we take with us into the world of math, where you can kind of say, okay, well, it's because this game went this way and this went that way. We could move those around, and then that's going to give us X result in some ways. But I think there are more calculations that people need to put into when they consider what's going to come up on this Thanksgiving Thursday, and that is that this is a much different Fitchburg football team than we saw 10 weeks ago.
Yeah, and just experience-wise, right? They're battle tested. They had a lot of kids, and they had to replace 20-something seniors that they had, and most of them were starters. So for a lot of guys to go in there and see their first varsity action, they're now have weathered the storm. They've now played a lot more. They have that experience there now. They're not rookies anymore. They're not first year starters. They've gone through a season. So just the experience alone makes them a better football team. Now being able to know, what their strengths and weaknesses are, they're a better football team in terms of their play calling, and what they who they try to get the ball to, and what they try to do defensively. So it's not the same team that we faced week 1. It's a much better football team, and with a lot more, confidence in themselves. So that's a dangerous thing. We saw what happened last year with our Thanksgiving game. We've talked about this with the kids, ever since we got back together on Wednesday. If we don't recover, going into the second quarter, if we don't recover that kick and then have that string of kickoffs that were either fumbled or we recovered, it's a different football game, and that can happen to us as quickly as it happened to them last year. And we could be down the hole in terms of momentum wise. So we need to be prepared and not take any facet of the game lightly. So that's really how we're approaching this game. It really anything can happen on Thanksgiving. Our guys got to know that, and we have to be able to be resilient. If something doesn't go our way, we can't let it turn into a landslide and completely shift momentum. We have to be able to right the ship. And I think we've done a good job of that this year, especially in the Wachusett game. When Wachusett battled back, we were able to stay in front and go make plays when we needed to. So we have experience in doing that. And I think that'll serve us well, because this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a very tough game.
No question about it. To your point, I think one of the team's, real strengths this year has been that mantra you guys have gone with, being locked in. Often when we come into these games, we talk about how will teams handle everything that leads to that buildup and that kickoff on Thanksgiving Thursday morning. And I feel like this edition of the team is uniquely prepared and has had a uniquely strong year in maintaining that locked in mentality and knowing when to stay locked in on that point. So I guess first I would ask you, how special is it to have a team that can be so mentally disciplined and so locked in for each and every game that you have played throughout the year? But then coming into this game, how much more does being locked in help in going through this week?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I think we've played, a career worth of, of situations this year. We've been in shootouts. We've won a shootout and we've come up short in a shootout. We've played in defensive struggle battle, like against Shrewsbury. So we've played in almost every type of game, every type of situation that you can, in 1 year. And we've played from behind. We've come back. We've done just about everything this year. And, I think we're well prepared in terms of our experience and what we've seen so far this year, to deal with any situation that comes up. We've experienced it, but the next thing to do is go out there and execute it. So yes, the experience is there. We've been in these situations before, but being able to deal with them on Thanksgiving Day is a whole other animal. So making sure that they understand that and not to let, in the moment, there's gonna be time to reflect on the game after. But it's really just about our execution, in that 48 minutes. It's really what it's about. So we're going to focus on that, the situations that we've been in, know that they've been prepared, and let them go and play with confidence.
Indeed. Rivalry history is chock full of unexpected contributions, people or players that maybe we didn't know prior to a specific Thanksgiving year or a Thanksgiving Day game. Maybe the coaches have a little bit of a better sense of that, but even still, I think with all of your experiences, sometimes you don't see the person coming who is going to make a contribution on a Thanksgiving morning. But I'm going to, kind of ask this question full well realizing that I'm asking you to predict the future. But if you had to tell me a 12th or a 13th or a 14th, person on the team or a position group for both teams, Fitchburg and Leominster, where would we be looking for that player that maybe is going to make a Thanksgiving memory on both sides that we didn't see coming either in the first meeting or at any point throughout this year?
Well, that's tough. Like what position group or what, or a particular player? Or, oh boy, that's tough. I think those players tend to normally come on the defensive side of the ball, whether it be a sack or an interception or causing a turnover. I think there might be someone that does that on either side, that will be an impact play in the game. So if I were to guess, that's usually where something comes up. Someone that's going to come up, make a play, cause a turnover, create intercept the ball, make a play on special teams. Those are typically where those players. It would be exciting to see if that holds true this year and someone comes up and makes a play.
Maybe it'll be because I just, interviewed Frank Novak and I've got special teams on my mind, but it does seem like a special teams play can make all the difference in a big football game. Absolutely. So we'll look in those directions. We'll see who makes their Thanksgiving memory, maybe a career memory on Thanksgiving morning for both teams. Coaches, we look at where your team was, where your team is now. What do you know about your team today? And what do you know about the Fitchburg team today that you didn't know about both teams prior to when you set up your game plan for week number one?
I think our resilience, in some of the games that we've played, in years past, in those situations, we haven't come away, on the better side of those. And I think the coaches and the players have dedicated themselves this year to making sure that we don't have that mentality. Again, this is not a slight on any other teams at all. It's just it's more of a slight on me than anything else, not having kids prepared to have that, to be able to deal with that situation. But our guys have really dealt with that in stride this year. And I think, that's obviously served us well throughout the year in terms of our record in the tough games that we won. And for Fitchburg, I think to stay the course. I mean, they've stayed the course and gotten better. It was a tough start to the year for them, and they've come away with some really, really quality wins. I think they lost to a really good Neshoba team by one score. I think that's their only loss in the last 5 games. Mm-hmm. Beat a Tantasco team that really beat up on Neshoba. And beat an Algonquin team that may have been down through injuries, but still a very tough football team. So there's quality wins in there. It's not like you're playing down, playing teams that were struggling. They played teams that had some solid seasons, or some teams that really had quality players. So, I guess their resilience as well too. They didn't let the beginning of the year define them. And here they are, with 4 out of the 5 last games as wins, and coming into Thanksgiving with a lot of confidence as well too.
I will ask you for your final message to the team Thursday morning when we talk to each other down on the field. But right now, as your team gets together for its final practices, meetings, and the moments that they will spend together, what do you want them concentrating on? What will be the things you want them to take away and hold on to forever as they leave this, the last few days together?
Communicate with their teammates, be able to be on the same page with them, be able to execute at a high level that maybe, I challenged them this week to execute at a level that they haven't executed this year. And I think they're all hungry to do that. And that you can't do that without the team effort. So I think they're all kind of pulling for each other. And that's really what's been the message from the coaching staff to the kids is communicate, execute like you've never executed before, and go out there and just, don't waste a play. Don't waste a play. I don't want them, like I said earlier in the interview here, I don't want them leaving that field on Thursday with any regrets or thoughts that they could have done something better. I want them leaving there feeling that they did everything that they could to win a football game.
And that is where we will leave off our conversation for the moment, Coach. As always, thank you so much. And thank you for another great season of the Coach's Corner here on RFM, spending, multiple hours a week with me prior to the broadcasts as well. I can't thank you enough for our 11th season on the Coach's Corner.
Thank you, Todd, too. It's been a lot of fun. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
I want to congratulate you and Kate and Billy on your award as well, too. You guys are the best around. Really appreciate everything that you guys do. Such high quality. And as always, we're privileged to have you guys here and for you guys to support Leominster football the way that you do, and Leominster sports for that matter, Leominster athletics. You guys are just fantastic, and we really appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much, Coach. I appreciate that as well. The 142nd meeting of Fitchburg and Leominster, the 116th Thanksgiving Day Classic, is going to be right here on RFM Audio and with our myriad of partners, starting first with Wednesday night, Recipe for a Classic, 7 to 9 p.m. right here on the channels of RFM. That's YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. And then 5 to 7 p.m. on 95.1 FM, WLPZ, and WLPZ.org. And rounding out that night of Recipe for a Classic, Tucker 56 Radio and Tucker56Radio.com has your chance to hear Recipe for a Classic from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Wednesday night as well. Then we get into Thursday morning, Thanksgiving Thursday, the encores of Recipe from 7 to 9 a.m. on 95.1 FM, WLPZ, and Tucker 56 Radio and Tucker56Radio.com, all leading into our live coverage from Doyle Field. The live streaming audio on these same platforms, YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. Live radio over the air on Thursday morning. We value live radio over the air. It's a massively important part of Thanksgiving, if no other day. 95.1 FM. Set your dials. For those of you that can't be at your television, got to be on the go, or you are in your kitchen basting often 95.1 FM is the place to go. Our countdown to kickoff is live on these platforms at 9 a.m. Then Leominster TV will join us live at 9:30 a.m. Channels of Comcast, Verizon, streaming the world over at Leominster.tv, that complete broadcast as well under the education live stream on Thanksgiving Thursday. And then it's kickoff live, play-by-play all across the region at 10 a.m. Action all across those platforms as noted. And then, hey, why not replays on Saturday, 95.1 FM, Sunday, Tucker 56 Radio and Tucker56radio.com. All of that ahead next week. Whew. All right. We've got it all for you. We're looking forward to it. Cannot wait to bring you this 142nd meeting of Leominster and Fitchburg to the community as well. And of course, for Leominster High School Head Coach Devin Gates, I am Todd Robbins, thanking you for joining us for the 11th season of Coach's Corner, and we look forward to being back together for season number 12 of the Coach's Corner next year, right here with our partners and on our FM. Until Thanksgiving, we say, so long, everybody.